Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Why many black women hate Lawrence. And y'all know which Lawrence I'm talking about. The one in the thumbnail. The whole time Insecure has been on, and you have a ton of people commenting on it, writing about it, doing videos on it, putting money in Rom's pocket because of it. But one character that just seems to draw the ire of many black women is Lawrence. Even characters associated with him. You know, the actress that played Tasha, the actress now, says she actually got hate mail, after hooking up with Lawrence last year. And people will say it's a character, but it's deeper than that. Because, you get some people I've even had some people like, why you doing something on Insecure? We got all this important stuff out here to talk about. Look, I'm going to tell you something now. Insecure is deeper than just an entertainment show. In fact, any television program is deeper than just entertainment. That's why they call them programs. They don't call them just shows. They'll call them programs, or they don't call it, Insecure the entertainment. They'll call it Insecure the TV program. Because stories are deeper. Stories are deeper than just something told. If you go through the history, and any anthropologist can tell you this, any scholar of mythologies can tell you this, and any religious scholar worth their salt can tell you this. The mythologies and religious stories of the world shape behavior. Since time immemorial, they've been used to teach, they've been used to educate, they've been used to transmit culture. Especially in African culture. This is a black show. The griot was very important. That was the person that kept the traditions going. And when you talk about the mythological stories, the religious stories, which in some people's eyes are one and the same, but we won't get into that type of discussion here. If I ever get into a religious discussion, just to let y'all know, it'll be only with a religious scholar. I don't talk with laymen about religion. So anyway, right? We're talking stories. Stories are powerful, Stories, they change us. We identify with the characters in the stories. Because, these stories rely on archetypes. And like I said earlier, just a second ago, about, the mythological stories or religious stories, if you look at any mythology, if you look at any religion, a big part of what they do is through stories. Greek mythology, stories. Norse mythology, stories. The parables of Christianity, stories. Jesus taught through stories. It's right there in the Bible. Nothing but parables. Also, even in the Old Testament, those are stories. Hadith of Islam, those are stories of the Prophet Muhammad. The Adu Ifa of the Yoruba, those are stories. And there's, and people use those stories to identify actions that they're engaged in, and through the resolution of those stories, they are able to face some of the things that they're facing in life. That's why it's so powerful. That's why stories are not just something that's just there. In fact, when you talk about the archetypes, because all of these stories tap into archetypes, and archetypes are a subliminal part of all human beings. We all represent some type of archetype. We all identify with something. Now, I'm going to tell you how deep those stories are and how powerful they are. Like one story, a powerful archetypal story, is the hero's journey. And it would take a while to explain it, but it's basically a formula like the hero in, if you look at any Hollywood blockbuster, any Hollywood story that's made a lot of money, you always find a variation of the hero's story, the hero's journey. The hero, he lives an ordinary life, then he's called to adventure. He goes into a dark place. He faces some powerful foes. He has allies, but they tap into archetypes. The thing that Insecure does is tap into modern archetypes in the Black community. Because archetypes aren't just something that's just there from birth or something that goes back to remote times. Archetypes evolve, and they evolve with culture. They develop in culture. Sometimes people might call them stereotypes, but there's actually a science there. Insecure, if you look at the characters on Insecure, every single character represents an archetype. And even if there's a writer, any writer worth their salt, even if they don't have any knowledge of mythology, religion, or really this gets into some deeper aspects of metaphysics. Even if they don't have an idea, they have an idea that, their characters are based on certain archetypes that we see every day. Or if you listen to comedians, when they make jokes, people laugh because people know the characters that comedians are talking about. When they say, yeah, so-and-so did this or your Uncle Junior did this, you understand it. Those are archetypes. Now, like I said about Insecure, each character represents an archetype. Issa, she represents the archetype of a college-educated Black woman who's in a financial position, relationship position, overall life position that, she probably didn't expect when she enrolled in college. You have a lot of women like that. Molly represents an archetype of someone who's working hard, a 92 octane, making a lot of money, but is running into a glass ceiling. Lawrence represents an archetype. He actually represents the regular brother, really. Tasha represents a certain archetype, So as people watch this, they think they're just watching, some actors on a screen, and they might even consciously tell themselves that. But as they get into the story, their subconscious doesn't make a distinction between this being fiction and then, this being reality. The subconscious never makes a distinction. It takes everything as real. Indeed, if you were to show Insecure to some indigenous cultures, they wouldn't take it as fiction. They would take it as something happening on the other side of the world. So that's how deep it is. It's real for people. And see, people become a part of the story on a subliminal basis. Now, a term I want people to look up is African ritual drama. In African ritual drama, people become a part of the story. That's part of the ritual. It has a lot of participation. It's teaching a lot of things. When people go through certain things, that's a part of the story. What's happening is many people have become a part of it. And it's really not just a Black thing. That's how Hollywood is really made its money. And it's deeper. It's really a video that goes beyond the scope of what I've currently limited this channel as. People want to just hear about relationships and all of that and game and all of that. But it gets into some deep metaphysics. And I still might do something there. If I get enough people who are truly interested. But with Insecure, people have become a part of the story. Men and women. That's why men were cheering that Backshot heard around the world. That was them. That was every dude who wanted to get with an attractive woman sexually. Now I know some women might have some criticism of that, but in order to feel that emotionally, it's something you have to identify with. And it's just like women identifying with Issa and women identifying with Molly and, other characters, even somebody like Tiffany or even a Kelly. Every character in there somebody identifies with. That's how deep it is. I give you an example. The reason why a major movie hasn't been made about the Haitian Revolution is because there weren't any sympathetic white characters. So it was hard to get financing for it. Danny Glover was trying to get a movie done, and he was actually told that. And it was just like, well, sorry, there were no sympathetic white characters in that. But that's why you'll get that sometimes because people have to identify with it. See, it's never just a story. Some people think it's just a story. No, you don't understand the deeper subliminals there, the metaphysics. It's something that advertisers understand. It's something that the elite understands. Social engineers understand it perfectly. That's how a small group of people are able to manipulate people through media and art. That's really, there's a little bit on some conspiracy stuff. Is why artists will get paid a little bit more than the average person, because they are facilitating getting into a person's subconscious. Right now, as I said, we're talking about the hate about Lawrence. If you look at many women who identify with the show, they're Issa. You know, college educated, but haven't really gone to like maybe that other level. Many women are Tasha. Maybe they don't have that college degree, but they're trying to work their way up. You know, and both Issa and Tasha saw something in Lawrence. Even the character of Aparna. They maybe not black women identify with that character, but I can guarantee there are plenty of non-black women that identify with that character, especially if they're interested in the type of person that Lawrence represents. Boom. And in fact, even that scene where Lawrence hooked up with those two white women because they saw him as, you know, that big black cock. That's tapping into an archetype. That's tapping into something. There's many white women out there who see that. So you tapping into different things. Now, why the hate against Lawrence? Well, think about it like this, right? If you identifying with their characters, right? Anybody's identifying it with their characters, and when they see this happening on screen, immediately they're going to think about when a similar thing happens to them. That was the part of the thing of a ritual drama. The ritual drama was there to heal somebody where they found the cultures that practiced it. If you take a person through that thing and help them resolve it, it was a healing modality. I'll put it like that. So, you know, many women are Issa. Many women had that guy who was underachieving. Because if you look at it, think about it. First Lawrence represented an underachieving man. He has a degree from Georgetown, but what's he doing with it? You know, he got caught up in a place when we introduced to him, he's just chilling on the couch. He didn't even remember her birthday. Now, how many women have done that? Especially since I just did a video on hobosexuals. There's a lot of sisters, especially. A lot of sisters. Now, even though I pointed out in the video, white women do it too. You know, I've had a couple sisters get on the comments and say, yeah, this is why we do it, or all of that, trying to justify it, which means it's happening. Now, how many have done that? You know, put up with a man either on the couch or underachieving, because remember, his first move was to Best Buy, and that, you know, that kind of satisfied her, but really it didn't. Now, it has nothing to do with the Lawrence character, really. Because in many women's mind, well, yeah, it's something. Because in many women's mind, you know, she was justified. You know, she was justified in going back to Daniel. You know, they don't have anything to do with what I'm talking about, the imprint or anything. It was just like, what do women do? You know, if that one man isn't meeting her needs, she finds another one. In fact, just out here, it's a common occurrence for women to justify another woman cheating. It's like, oh, he must not have met her needs. He was emotionally distant. He wasn't there. Never that is just wrong, but he wasn't around, right? But getting back to Issa, shoot, that represents a lot of women. So they're going to immediately have a dislike for the character. And then, okay, even when he rolled from Issa, you know, so they're going to still get mad. He's improving, but he's not doing it with her. He's not doing things according to her agenda. Many women can identify with that. Also, when you get Tasha, you think the Tashas, how many Tashas have seen that type of man, dealt with that type of man? No, he wasn't where he wanted to be, but they found him attractive anyway. They see him going someplace and they're looking to move up. That's what they see him as. What'd he do? He basically, real talk, he just dealt with her sexually. He didn't deal with her emotionally or anything else. You know? Because even when she was trying to get him, it was just like, yeah, she was cool to talk to and everything. But dude wasn't feeling her. Even when she was coming on hard to him, he said, hey, I got a girlfriend. All right. But I mean, there's many Tashas out there who dealt with that. And then part of it is too, even when he was moving up, even when it was moving up, there's many women out there, you know, when they dealt with some type of guy, and he wasn't doing anything, then he leaves and started improving themselves. You know, these men start improving themselves. All of a sudden, you know, many women don't take it well. It was just, you know, it's a feeling like, well, how come you couldn't do that with me? And I've heard it. You know, I've heard women talk about, you know, they'll be with a guy and he might be out of shape. All of a sudden they break up and all of a sudden he lose the weight. You know, all of a sudden he started doing better. It makes the women feel some type of way. See, it's not really about Lawrence. It's not about the actor. I mean, yeah, he might have got some hate mail, but it's about how the archetype of what Lawrence represents makes the women feel. That's all it is. And it doesn't make them feel good. How else would you why else would you just have just a hatred for like a character? Or why else would you send hate mail to the actress who plays a character who got with this character that you hate? Because it you know what, is making you feel some type of way. It's making the women feel some type of way. You know, and it's not anything, you know what, it actually, I'm gonna be honest, because one thing, and I mentioned African ritual drama, we have to remember Issa's background, Issa Rae's background, Issa Rae Diop, Sinhalese. So, you know, I'm willing, just looking at it, she might have had some familiarity with that, right? The concept, even if she didn't. I think there were some other forces moving it, but like I said, I don't really care to get into a spiritual discussion. But it's making many women look at themselves and it's making them think, oh, wait a minute, this is when I had this situation. I've seen it. I've seen women respond, even to cartoons and stuff, when they see something that was similar to their situation. That's how deep it is. That's how deep that story is. It's not just a story. You know, a writers are powerful. Right? A true writer is powerful. And I'm not saying that because I'm a writer, but you create archetypes that's going into a person's subconscious. You can influence people through, you know, the pen. They say the pen is mightier than the sword. That's true. You know, in countries with repressive regimes, when there's a crackdown or when there's an overthrow of the government, they go after journalists first. They go after writers. They go after the creative people first, because the power of people have that power to move people. You know, even during the 60s, even during the freedom movements of the African American community, music played a great part. You know, the written word played a great part. It's powerful. People realize that. That's why you have certain forces who try to control the images sought. Now, one thing I give to Issa, despite what people might think of the show, somehow she was able to get some stuff in there. And not totally. But the time she'll be able to do that is when there's some type of truly independent media, which would have to be supported by independent businesses. But yeah, that's getting into some deepness that I don't think a lot of people are ready to go, you know, just being real. But that's basically an overview, because like I said, if I get deeper into it, if I really get deeper into the metaphysical aspects of it, it's like, yeah, I don't know if a lot of people are ready to hear it, but it is a deep thing. It's subliminal. People are identifying with the female characters that are encountering Lawrence. Because I can almost guarantee a woman who is a true 92 octane or a true 100 octane who wouldn't deal with a Lawrence, or at best would just see as Lawrence as doing Lawrence, they probably like, hey, whatever, why y'all mad at that character? Because they don't identify with the characters who dealt with him on a romantic basis. So I just wanted to get that out there. Thanks for listening. As always, there's a reason why I do everything. So I'll see who catch on to it. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.